The jungle of Torvex 9 breathed with an eerie, alien rhythm. Massive trees with thick, spiraling roots twisted high into the sky, their bark pulsing with dim bioluminescent veins, casting shifting shadows across the damp, uneven terrain. In the distance, strange creatures howled in the night, their voices reverberating like distorted echoes through the misty air. 12 elite hunters stood in formation at the edge of a jagged cliff, their armored bodies illuminated by the twin moons above. Their gear, high-tech exosuits laced with thermal-dampening plating, hummed softly, adjusting to the humid environment. Each of them carried lethal weaponry, customized for war. At the front of the group stood Vrock, a towering reptilian warlord from the Drelkar Dominion, his emerald green scales adorned with scars from battles past. His slit-pupiled eyes glowed faintly under his helmet's visor as he surveyed the dense jungle ahead. His long, clawed fingers flexed over the grip of his plasma rifle. The thrill of the hunt coiled within his chest like a living beast. 10 minutes, he growled, his voice guttural, thick with anticipation. That's the head start we gave a human. Behind him, a mercenary chuffed in amusement. Golves, a hulking insectoid with curved mandibles, clicked his pincers together. Not sure why we bother with a countdown. The chase will be over fast. Humans are soft. Weak prey. Rules are rules, Vrock rumbled. His lips curled into something resembling a smile. Besides, the ones that run make it more interesting. There was a chorus of low chuckles from the others. These were no common warriors. They were the best of the best, hired by the Zervis Syndicate for this very sport. Their target? A human prisoner taken from a captured warship. No name, no rank, just another Terran soldier caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. The alien warlords loved their blood games. And tonight, they were putting on a spectacle. A sharp ping from Vrock's wrist-mounted scanner signaled the end of the waiting period. He raised his rifle, motioning to the others. The hunt begins. The mercenaries fanned out, moving with predatory grace into the jungle. The group moved as one, their footfalls silent, their sensors scanning for heat signatures. The trees loomed overhead, their thick branches dripping with luminescent sap. Strange, floating spores drifted through the air, giving the forest a ghostly appearance. Within minutes, they picked up their first sign of movement, a set of faint footprints pressed into the soft ground. Noth! Grunted Dralkesh, a feline-like hunter with obsidian-black fur. He crouched low, tracing a claw through the indentations. Pace is controlled, not panicked. The humans not running blind. His thinking. Vrock exhaled through his nostrils. That was mildly interesting. Most prisoners sprinted wildly, losing themselves in the jungle's labyrinthine terrain before being cornered and gunned down like vermin. This one was calculating. It wouldn't save him. A large Varussian brute, a 7-foot warrior with bone-white armor plating covering his thick hide, sniffed the air. He won't get far, he rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. Jungle's crawling with predators. Even if we don't find him first, something else will. They pushed deeper. The jungle played tricks on them. The shadows shifted, morphing into strange shapes, and for brief moments, some of the hunters thought they saw movement where there was none. The air was thick with the scent of damp foliage and the distant tang of decay. Minutes passed. Then something strange happened. The first hunter went silent. A mercenary named Varesh, one of the best scouts in the group, had been positioned ahead of them. He was supposed to report in every 5 minutes. Instead, his comm was dead. Varesh! Vrock called, his voice a harsh whisper into the squad's comms. Report. Nothing. The air grew still. Then a sharp crackle of static. A distorted, gurgling noise. Then silence again. A feeling of unease slithered up Vrock's spine. Dralkesh, Golves, go check it out. The rest of you maintain formation. The two warriors moved forward cautiously, their weapons raised. They disappeared into the undergrowth. Another minute passed. Then came a scream. A wet, horrible sound, followed by the thump of a body hitting the jungle floor. Vrock's blood ran cold. Dralkesh, Golves. Silence. Gods damn it. Vrock snarled. He motioned for the others to tighten their formation. Something wasn't right. Then his scanner pinged again. Movement. Close. Fan out. Eyes up. The remaining hunters shifted, raising their weapons, scanning every shadow, every branch. The jungle had turned against them. A branch creaked, a soft breath of wind. Then, a blur of motion. A figure dropped from above, landing behind one of the mercenaries with the silence of a wraith. The hunter barely had time to react before a blade slid across his throat. A strangled gasp, then he crumpled. The other spun, weapons flashing. Too late. Another mercenary fell, a sharpened combat knife embedded in the base of his skull. Panic rippled through the remaining warriors. This is impossible, one of them stammered, stepping backward. No human moves like that. Vrock felt a deep, twisting dread coil in his stomach. The human was supposed to be prey. But something was wrong. And then he saw it. One of the fallen mercenaries had something clenched in his dead hand. A small metal tag, stained with blood. Vrock frowned, reaching down to pry it free. He turned it over in his palm. The engraving was simple, worn down, but unmistakable. A name, a designation. REAPER-3. Vrock's entire body went rigid. He had heard that name before. Every warrior in the galaxy had. A sharp breath escaped him. The air seemed to grow colder. No, this wasn't just some human soldier. This was a Reaper, elite, unstoppable. A human death squad trained to annihilate entire warbands. A myth, a nightmare, a ghost. Vrock's fingers tightened around the dog tag as the realization settled over him. This wasn't a hunt. This was an execution, and they were the ones being hunted. A low, guttural growl rippled through Vrock's throat as he clutched the blood-stained REAPER-3 dog tag. His mind raced, instinct screaming at him to retreat. Every Drelkar warlord had heard the stories, legends whispered in dim-lit war rooms about humanity's Reapers. They weren't soldiers. They weren't assassins. They were eradication units. Ghosts with a singular purpose, to eliminate high-value targets with inhuman precision. Vrock clenched his fist, crushing the tag in his palm. No, this was impossible. The Reapers were a relic of an old war, long gone. This had to be a coincidence. But then, where were his men? He scanned the darkness, his thermal vision flickering between the twisting, bioluminescent foliage. 3 of his warriors had already vanished, their bodies claimed by an unseen predator. The jungle remained unnervingly silent. No death cries. No blaster fire. Just silence. This wasn't a skirmish. This was precision. The remaining 8 mercenaries tightened their formation, their weapons humming with lethal energy. Jorvash, the massive Russian brute, flexed his clawed hands over his plasma cannon. His beady eyes darted from shadow to shadow. "This doesn't feel right," he rumbled. "We should call the ship. Get out of here." Vrock bared his fangs. "And tell the syndicate we ran from a human." His nostrils flared. "No, we find him. We end this." But even as he spoke, he knew something was wrong. They had been following clear tracks. Signs of movement. Signs meant to be found. The realization hit him like a plasma blast to the chest. The human wasn't running. He was leading them. And they had followed him, right where he wanted them. A sharp, metallic clang rang out from behind. Motion. Bart Krolek, the squad sharpshooter, swiveling his rifle toward the sound. The others moved in unison, forming a semicircle, weapons trained. Another sound. A rustling, barely audible, but distinct. A trap? Vrock raised a fist, signaling for caution. "Hold! Don't!" Crack! Something moved in the treetops. Fast. A blur of motion. Then a body dropped into their midst. The human moved with a terrifying grace, a blur of dark armor and cold efficiency. Before the first mercenary could react, the Reaper was already inside their formation. The first kill was instantaneous. A single gunshot, suppressed, erased Krolek from existence, the round punching through his visor and out the back of his skull. His body collapsed, lifeless. The next mercenary managed to swing his rifle around. Too slow. A combat knife flashed through the dim light, slicing clean across his throat. The mercenary gurgled, collapsing to his knees, hands clutching his neck as dark purple blood sprayed the ground. Panic erupted. "Fire! Fire!" Vrock roared, raising his plasma rifle. The squad reacted. unleashing a hailstorm of plasma and kinetic rounds into the trees, the foliage exploding in bursts of burning energy. The jungle erupted in chaos, shadows twisting, branches snapping, smoke billowing from the impact of stray shots. For a brief moment, it seemed like they had him, but as the gunfire slowed, they realized they had hit nothing. The human was gone. Jorvash's heavy breathing filled the comms. Where did he go? Vrock's heart hammered in his chest. His warriors had hunted thousands of creatures across countless worlds. No prey moved like this. No human should move like this. Another mercenary, Drelga, shifted uneasily, his mandibles clicking. This isn't a fight. This is... Snap. A sound came from above. They all looked up, just in time to see another body fall from the trees. It was Dralkesh, or what was left of him. The feline warrior's throat had been slit clean through, his lifeless eyes frozen in terror. His corpse slammed into the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. A message, a warning, a promise. Terror gripped the remaining warriors. 7 left. Jorvash took a step back, his cannon shaking. This is no human. This is... A voice cut through the comms. Cold, flat, precise. You should have checked the name first. A chill ran down Vrock's spine. Then, gunfire. The human had repositioned, attacking from the right. A single, lethal burst of gunfire cut down another mercenary before the rest could react. Jorvash roared, spinning to face the souls. There! Plasma fire ripped through the jungle, but the Reaper was already gone. A blur of movement. Another kill. Another. The squad was falling apart. Their formations meant nothing. Their numbers meant nothing. Vrock felt fear. True, primal fear. Then, another ping from his scanner. Movement. Behind them. No. Impossible. Jorvash swung his cannon around. Too late. A sharp crack. A single, silence round punched through his head. The Voroshian collapsed with a heavy thud. Only 5 left. Vrock's breathing turned ragged. His body screamed at him to run. Every instinct, every primal urge from generations of warriors before him begged him to flee. He had never felt this before. He was the predator, the hunter. Not tonight. Tonight, he was prey. A static-laced voice crackled through his comms again. You don't walk away from a Reaper. Vrock's stomach twisted. They had been hunting the deadliest thing in the galaxy, thinking it was sport. But the Reaper hadn't been running. He had been hunting them all along. Vrock gritted his fangs, rage overtaking fear. Fall back, he roared, turning on his heel. Regroup at the ship. The 5 remaining mercenaries didn't hesitate. They turned and ran. Plasma bolts screamed through the trees as they fired wildly behind them, hoping to slow the nightmare that stalked them. But deep down, they knew the truth. It was too late. The Reaper had chosen his battlefield, and they were already dead. Vrock's lungs burned as he sprinted through the dense undergrowth of Torvex 9, his plasma rifle clutched tightly in his clawed hands. His massive frame should have made him slower than his remaining warriors, but sheer, primal terror propelled him forward. The jungle, once a familiar hunting ground, now felt like an endless labyrinth of death. Every shadow, every shifting leaf, every whisper of wind felt like a knife at his throat. The mercenaries had started as 12. Now, there were 5. No, 4. A wet, sickening gurgle sounded behind him. Vrock didn't need to look. He knew what he would see. Another one of his men, silently executed by the ghosts that hunted them. The thought sent ice through his veins. You don't walk away from a Reaper. The words from his comms echoed in his skull. He had dismissed the old war stories as myths, exaggerated battlefield legends about humanity's black ops exterminators, the Reapers. Cold, ruthless, unstoppable. Even the most hardened warriors whispered their names in fear, as if speaking them too loudly would summon a phantom from the void. Now, Vrock knew why. The jungle closed around them, thick with glowing mist, bioluminescent fungi casting unnatural, shifting lights. The very air felt suffocating. The Reaper was out there, moving unseen, shaping the battlefield to his will. And they were running straight into his trap. The horror of the hunt. A sudden snap of movement of Vrock's left sent a jolt of adrenaline through his body. Drelga, the insectoid sharpshooter, twisted around, his compound eyes scanning frantically. There! I saw. Crack! A suppressed shot rang out from the darkness. Droga jerked backward, a neat, smoking hole between his multiple eyes. He stood there for a moment, his mandibles clicking spasmodically, then collapsed into the undergrowth, twitching once before going still. Vrock swallowed a snarl of rage. "Is picking us off one by one." He turned to the last three survivors, Vekral, a crimson-skinned Drovat brawler, and the twin Mazrek brothers, two brutish, cybernetic-enhanced warriors from the war-fueled Archon clans. Vekral's hands trembled over his rifle. We can't stay out here." The Mazrek twins barely held their composure, their reinforced bodies heaving from the sprint. Their war helmets clicked and adjusted, scanning every inch of the terrain, but the Reaper left no trace. Vrock gritted his fangs. "We keep moving. We make it to the ship, regroup, and bang this entire jungle to the ground. If we make it." But he didn't say that out loud. Vrock activated his HUD scanner, locking onto the waypoint that led back to their dropship, just a few kilometers northwest. If they could reach it, they could escape. They just had to survive long enough. A nightmare in the trees. They moved carefully now. No longer hunters, but hunted beasts. Every step felt like inviting death. The jungle pulsed with eerie alien sounds, some natural, some not. Then, a whisper, not through the jungle, through their comms. "You should have run the moment you saw the tag." The voice wasn't mocking. It was simply stating a fact. A sickening chill wrapped around Vrock's chest. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. "Shut him out," he snarled. "Kill the feed, his hacked into our comms." But even as he spoke, the Reaper struck again. A blur of dark armor and movement, and Vekral was gone. No scream, no warning. Just ripped into the foliage, his body vanishing into the shadows as if the jungle itself had devoured him. The Mazrek twins panicked. "It is everywhere," one of them bellowed, firing wildly into the darkness. "You can't kill what you can't see," the other roared. Plasma fire lit up the jungle, scorching trees, setting glowing plants ablaze, but nothing hit the target. Then, a knife. It buried itself in the first Mazrek brother's throat, a clean, merciless kill. The second Mazrek twin turned in time to see a shadow moving toward him. His rifle came up, too slow. Crack! A single gunshot. A precise, cold execution. The Mazrek twin collapsed, a hole punched through his forehead. The last stand. Now, it was just Vrock, the last survivor. His chest heaved as he stood alone in the clearing, plasma rifle shaking in his claws. The jungle was silent again, the kind of silence before the final kill. He activated his comms, his voice a harsh whisper. "Why?" he rasped. "Why do this? Why not just let me run?" For the first time, the Reaper answered directly, "Because that's not how this ends." Then he stepped into view. The Reaper, the human nightmare, emerged from the shadows. He was not a myth. He was real. His armor, matte black and devoid of insignia, seemed to absorb the jungle's dim light. No glowing visor, no heavy weapons, just a suppressed pistol in one hand and a combat knife in the other. Efficient, practical, deadly. A human face, scarred and expressionless, locked onto Vrock's own. There was no hatred there, no anger, no thrill of the hunt, just cold finality. "You killed my men," Vrock growled, raising his rifle. The Reaper's head tilted slightly. "No, I executed them." Vrock's finger tightened on the trigger. Crack! A sharp pain ripped through his knee. His leg buckled, forcing him down. He hadn't even seen the Reaper move. "Your kind likes a hunt for sport," the Reaper said, stepping forward, his voice unreadable. Vrock snarled, clutching his leg. "You're a monster." The Reaper's expression didn't change. "I'm necessary." Vrock's vision blurred. The pain was overwhelming. He had lost. And then, the final words from the Reaper, "Your mistake wasn't underestimating me." Vrock gritted his teeth. Then, what was it? The Reaper knelt, bringing his cold, unrelenting gaze to meet Vrock's. "Your mistake was thinking you were the hunter." A single suppressed shot rang out. Darkness swallowed Vrock whole. The hunt was over. REAPER-3 had claimed another battlefield. The jungle was silent once more. Vrok's lifeless body slumped to the ground, the last of the mercenaries exterminated. The air smelled of plasma burns, blood, and the damp musk of alien flora. Smoke curled lazily from bullet wounds, the only movement in the carnage-strewn clearing. REAPER-3 stood over the corpse, his pistol still trained on the fallen warlord. His expression was as unreadable as ever. Not victorious, not satisfied, just done. He ejected the spent magazine with practiced ease, sliding a fresh one into place. His movements were slow, deliberate, not rushed, but intentional. He had learned long ago that efficiency was the only thing that mattered. With a quiet breath, he reached down and retrieved his dog tag from the dirt. It was battered and scratched from years of war, but the engraving was still clear. REAPER-3, LT Adrian Riggs, UNSC Black Ops, classified. He stared at it for a moment before slipping it back beneath his armor. It wasn't a badge of honor. It wasn't even a name anymore. It was a warning, a reminder of what he was. No witnesses. Riggs tapped a button on his wrist-mounted interface. A holographic HUD flickered to life, displaying an uplink to his ship's AI. Mission status, objective complete. That wasn't quite true. Not yet. One last detail remained. Sync drone feed, Riggs murmured. A soft beep confirmed the link, and a live feed from his Recon drones unfolded across his visor. The images showed the mercenaries' dropship, a sleek, black vessel resting in a clearing several kilometers away. No guards, no automated defenses, just an empty ship waiting for a crew that would never return. Riggs exhaled through his nose. He couldn't leave it intact. With a few quick keystrokes, he issued a command. The drone, already in position, deployed a high-yield thermite charge to the ship's engine core. A countdown appeared on his HUD. Detonation in 10 seconds. Riggs turned away from the bodies and started walking. He didn't need to see it happen. A few seconds later, a blinding explosion lit up the jungle behind him, sending debris and metal shards flying in every direction. The shockwave rippled through the trees, sending leaves and dust scattering. The mercenaries were dead. Their ship was destroyed. Their hunt had become their gravesite. No one would ever find them. No one would ever know. A ghost in the system. As he walked, Riggs reached up and activated his helmet secure comms channel. A few seconds later, a female voice crackled through his earpiece. "This is Control. Report REAPER-3. Target eliminated," Riggs said, his tone neutral. 12 hostiles neutralized. No survivors. No witnesses. A pause. Then a slow exhale on the other end. "Understood. Confirm extraction status." "Heading to exfil now," he said. "Acknowledged. Stand by for retrieval." Riggs cut the transmission and continued walking through the dense jungle. The darkness felt lighter now, less oppressive. The hunt was over, but the war never truly ended. He knew that. The weight of a name. REAPER-3. The title had been given to him years ago, back when the war against the Zenda Dominion had raged across the outer colonies. The Reapers had been humanity's last resort, their secret weapons when conventional tactics failed. They weren't soldiers. They weren't assassins. They were eliminators, surgical ghosts designed to end conflicts before they could start. But the war had ended. The Reapers had been decommissioned, their records wiped, their existence erased from history. Riggs had thought he was done. Then came the Mercenaries. The Drellcar Syndicate had been hunting humans for sport, picking off isolated colonies and turning them into playgrounds for their bloodlust. The Galactic Council had done nothing, too concerned with their fragile peace treaties to act. So Riggs had acted, and when they found his tag, they had laughed. They weren't laughing anymore. No rest for the dead. As he moved toward the rendezvous point, Riggs tapped his wrist interface again. A new mission prompt appeared in his HUD, a classified briefing from Control. He glanced at it. Another hunt, another warlord, another monster that needed to be put down. His jaw tightened. He should have been exhausted, should have felt something. Instead, he just felt cold. He knew, deep down, there would be no end, no final mission, because monsters never stopped existing. And as long as they did, a Reaper would be needed to hunt them. So he would keep going, until the galaxy no longer had anything left to fear. With one final glance at the burning wreckage behind him, Riggs activated his beacon. A sharp hum cut through the jungle as his ship decloaked in the sky above, descending toward him. The hunt was over, but the Reaper's work had just begun.